Um, let's just sort of keep this in mind as we're kind of going forward today. Look for look for things that we're grateful for, and um, the more we're intentional about that, I think it really does make our world just beautiful, more beautiful. There's some interesting research looking at um, happiness and gratitude, and the kind of the natural thing that we all think is that if you're happy, you'll be grateful. But research seems to point the other direction, which is really interesting. The more grateful you are, the happier you are, and the and so we can actually improve the happiness in our life by intentionally looking for things that we're grateful for. Hey, Avea, I'm grateful for you, your help, and being able to do these with you. Thank you so much for being here today. I was wondering if you could maybe share with us. We might want to say hello to the crew and maybe let us know some opportunities in the nature journaling world these days.
Absolutely, I would be honored to. And I'm also very grateful for you, Jack. Um,
Thank you.
I think I think everybody here is. Um, I'm grateful not only for the things that you teach, but I've said this before, but I mean it every time I say it. I'm thankful that you teach not only how to nature journal, but you teach how to human really well. So thank you
Like
for
that,
that.
I'm gonna write that down.
Thank you for teaching us how to human well, and thank you for your friendship. And um, and
we're
so
we're still figuring it out. Maybe that's why elders are so important to us because they've had so much more practice being human. And I love that. I'm gonna write down how to human.
and I will share some events by some other wonderful humans in our community. Firstly, I'd like folks to know that the community calendar has now been moved permanently to the Wild Wonder Foundation site. So you might want to bookmark that. Um, and otherwise, I will hand the floor to Jack and say, thank you all so much for being here with us today. We're really thankful for you.
All right. Well, this is gonna be fun. Right before we kind of made this class live, Avea was just talking to me about like the more she's kind of looked into it, the more she's just sort of developed this soft spot and affection for hyenas. And I think that if you can, um, it's easy for us to kind of extend our kind of connection and affection to bunnies, and so things with like crisp neonatal features, like big heads, big eyes, and then lots of fur. Um, we say aw, and we want to take care of them, and so hyenas often don't fall into that category. And so, but it's interesting. The more we do learn about something, the more we understand it. Or say, the more we pay attention to another person. That act of attention again connects us with the world. It connects us with other people, with other species. And so, my challenge for all of you is the to join the Hyena Appreciation Society with the More and see if you can open up a place in your heart and kind of the circle of um, kind of connection, stewardship, and love that we may have for warm fuzzy critters with those lovable but not necessarily snuggleable hyenas. So today we're going to take a look at the hyena and the jackal, and I want to do them together, not because they're related, because they're not. So the jackal's a kind of dog, and the hyena's not. And the hyena kind of looks dog-like, but they're actually closer to like monkeys and and cats. And the so when you get down there and you kind of look at their genes, well, at least for the ones that get dressed, the they're they're closer to they're closer to mongoose, and then closer to cats, and then um, they share a common ancestor with dogs, but that goes way back. So um, they're really fun, but it's great to one of our skills, the strategies which we use in the Nature Journal Club is this thing called a joint comparison. And the genius of the joint comparison is that if you're just looking at one thing by itself, you can see its features, but the characteristics of it don't really crisply stand out to you because there's nothing to compare it against. If you make a mark on a piece of paper, is it dark or is it light? Your brain will probably say medium. The minute you've got another mark next to it, then you can see, oh, this one is darker than this. So the characteristics of one actually help us see and understand the characteristics of the other. And you start to sort of see there are differences and things in places that you didn't expect. And so this strategy of joint comparison you can do if you are on anything, any choice that you're making. Don't make that decision in isolation. You compare it to something else, and then you will actually see more of the features of whatever it is that you're looking at. And that's a lot of fun. So today we're going to do this jackal hyena joint comparison. They kind of get thrown in the same bucket because both of them will take advantage of sort of opportunities to scavenge. But the hyenas especially they are very effective hunters. And like if you watch The Lion King, the hyena gets the rap of like we're just kind of around and we're gonna try to steal things from lions, right? Lions will also steal things from hyenas, and sometimes lions will take down something, and hyenas will kind of get together in a big group, and a clan of hyenas will come in and chase them off. And sometimes the hyenas will catch food and the lions will come in and scare them off it. And so they're really interesting critters. And sort of we'll maybe talk a little bit more about this, but they're the role of the female is really prominent. Like you think of like in wolves, there's the alpha male, right? People always talk about alpha males. So in hyena land, the females are the dominant ones, and they're larger, and they get all the respect. So when you watch a group of hyenas, you can they're making like tons of little body postures that are signaling like who's dominant. And so you'll see one kind of skirling along, and then you can tell that where its status is next to all the ones. So hyena watching is also really interesting. You get to see a group of hyenas together. You can really kind of sort them out, like who's zooming who. And what's fun to do is to look at this critter versus this critter. What postures do they take? This critter versus this critter versus this critter, and you can actually sort them all out. And it's really fun because they'll display to each other with very clear body signals. So let's figure out how to draw them. I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint presentation and a little sketch pad on the other. We're going to be drawing along on these together. And I also I'm going to put into the chat. Go to today's class. I have a handout for today's class, and that if you kind of went onto my website a couple of days ago, you would not have seen it. But if you go to the description of the class,
I got you covered. I put it in the chat
already. Well, thank you. You can print out this a worksheet that has a picture of a skeleton of a jackal and a skeleton of a hyena. So we're going to be using those and some photographs to put fuzz on top of them. But it's neat to kind of just take a quick look under the hood, and you can kind of really get a sense of the differences between these. So you might want to go ahead and do that now. We won't be using that worksheet for a couple of minutes, so you still have a little bit of time to go print that out if you are able to. And let's, now let me see here. All right, so let's start with our little friends, the jackals. Because, okay, yeah, that's pretty cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you a few strategies for drawing features of these at some different angles, but I wanted to start just with a look at its head, because um, we don't want headless jackals. A useful strategy if something is looking straight forward towards you on any species is just basically start with a circle with a center line down the middle of that. That's going to help you kind of keep this thing symmetrical on either side. And what I am essentially looking at here, where is my pen? Here we go. What I'm essentially looking at on this drawing is so like here's the circle of the face, and here is the center line. Now you'll see a bunch of you will see online often little tutorials on, like, how to draw a dog, how to draw a cat, how to draw a jackal, and they will often say, put one line through here, and then they'll measure some certain distance down, and they'll put in the nose a certain push. But the sort of where the eyes are, where the nose is, where the base of the ears are on a head like this is going to completely change whether the animal is looking straight towards you. You notice, like right now on hedgehog, ears, eyes, nose all line up. All we have to do is turn hedge down like this, and it goes nose, eyes, ears, right? Nose, then eyes, then ears. And if hedge was looking up here, then nose is above eyes and ears, right? So you've got to sort of where the nose and the eyes are relative to each other depends on how hedgehog is tilting her head, right? So so in this one, it just happens to be that the eyes are about halfway through the head, and the ears are above that, and the nose is down here. So a very kind of just quick shorthand when you're looking at anything is to kind of just notice, where's my nose, eyes, ears, and know that if this brings its head up, the nose is going to get higher relative to the eyes, and the ears are going to get lower relative to the eyes. So what's happening with that, if you imagine my pencil here as being the ears, eyes, and nose, the more it tilts towards you, the closer those 3 points get together. Until if it's looking straight out, you can often get all 3 of those points all lined up, like, just like that. Right? But tilt that head down, they'll be in different places. So there's no formula of like how far down. For drawing a cat, the nose is this far down. For drawing a dog, it's this far down. It's going to depend on the length of your snout, and it's also going to depend on how you're holding your head. So another very useful measurement on something like this is to get your critter kind of looking back at you. You want your eyes to be spaced apart the right amount. And so what I like to do is to think of how many eyes are the eyes apart. If you were to put, like on a human being, there's about one eye between our eyes. And on this, if you look at my little buddy here, we could put in an eye over here, and we could put another eye over here, and then we've got these eyes on the outside. So if we put 4 eyes in a row, that would give me the approximate spacing of the eyes. So I find it's going to be useful for me to try to get these eyes the right size and the right distance from each other. So let me just try that on this. If I've got an eye and an eye, and I've got an eye and an eye. So that means I'm going to have an eye over here. I'm going to have an eye over here. And the eyes aren't totally round. There's a higher corner on the outside. There is a lower corner on the inside. And you'll see that pattern on lots of beasties. And so then we're going to put in, sort of think about our snout kind of going on here. Something to really pay attention to is how broad the nostril pad is going to be on your species. So here on this one, it's about an eye. And as we'll see on other species, it's going to be bigger, right? So, so there's not sort of one rule across all species. You're going to want to look at your species. So you're going to have, kind of coming down from the eye, a bridge of your nose. And you're going to come into that. And then down here, you're going to widen that out into your little muzzle. So the tip of the nose isn't the mouth. You actually you end up with a wider mouth on species than this sort of nose ridge that comes down. And also, depending on how tilted your head is, you're going to see more or less chin. Here with this head really down, we see very little chin. But if this had its head tilted up towards us, we'd see lots and lots of chin. And you can get that whole kind of this sort of a thing going on in front of somebody's face, right? If they're looking more straight at you, you've got more chin down here. But here, we have very, very little chin. Another thing that's going to help you draw any little beastie is placing the eyes in the head. So a circle doesn't do much for you. What I want to do is look at this little pad of skin and even different colored fur above the eyes and below the eyes.
Oh, hey, Jack, sorry to interrupt you. I think you might need to lock focus.
Oh, yeah, let's turn off. We're auto-focusing like a boss here. Let me do this. Click here. And thank you for that. Make us all dizzy. All right, there we are. Turned off our focus. There we are. So by putting this the fur that pops, if you imagine your eyeball in the side of a head here, there's going to be skin above it, and then there's going to be this big pad of skin below, and actually you can have a bigger eyeball in there. And so the skin sort of poofs out above and below, and so I want to get those. And what that does is it inserts the head, the eye into the head. Now, depending on how strong your bite is, you have more or less of a, hold on a second. So depending on how strong your bite is, you have more or less of a ridge that comes down the center of your skull. So on a critter with a really strong bite, hold on a moment. On somebody with a really strong bite, the temporalis muscle, which you see the sort of rough area on the sides here, this is a gray fox, and so the the line for the temporalis muscle makes this U shape. If I hold it this way, this U shape on the top of the head here, and for animals with a stronger bite, these two muscles come together and they kiss in the middle. So that's what's going on here on this cat skull. It's a little house cat. And you can see that the temporalis muscle here and this here, they've come together and you've actually got a little faint ridge between the two. On animals with a super powerful bite, you actually build up a huge crest like a shark fin in the middle of the skull to attach these biting temporalis muscles onto. Now on our little jackal here, we don't have a particularly strong bite. It gives us sort of a flat head. And so I like to sort of think of a triangle, a little diamond up here on the top of the head. And we'll place our ears into that. So I'm going to note how far the ears are apart on the top, how far down those ears attach on the side of the head. And then I'm going to use the length of this face here as sort of a measuring tool for my ear. So another great strategy is to just look at the negative shape between the ears. So before you draw the whole ear, draw the shape of the ear between those ears. And that will really help you place those ears more successfully. You want this shape here to be right. Before you get the shape of the ear to be right, let's get the shape of the space between those ears to be right. So on these guys, they have these really, really tall ears. So we're going to kind of come out and up. Notice that there's this cool pocket on the side of the ear out here. You'll see that on cats as well. There's a little pocket right in there. And another thing just to notice about ears is on many species, you're going to see on the inside of the ear here, you're going to see this zone of long hair that is going to take up space here on the front edge of it. And these hairs will curve out like this. Now here's the danger of drawing these. If I get in here and I go like, oh look, I've got all these hairs that come up, and so I draw in all these hairs, these long hairs, what I've just done is I have just made a big dark zone on that side of the ear. Ruh-roh. Huh, is that really what I want to do? Because let's take a look at it. That's the lightest part of the ear because they're light colored hairs and the back surface of the ear is darker. So what I think is a better way of approaching that is just to think of the shape of this. And you can sort of put in a few little kind of places where it kind of jiggles in, right? And then you're going to get this outer part darker. And then this part shows up as lighter. Very often a little darker edge in here. So here are these, and then I can suggest to people that these are actually long hairs by just kind of drawing in a few little marks like that. And then that will give people this sense of those long white hairs out there in the ear. But just look at how big these ears are. Really, really clear that this is somebody who spends a lot of time listening. We should try to be more like jackals. So that's just a little bit about jackal face. But now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this jackal face a little bit to the side. Oh, I meant to do that earlier. Look, it's close up with a jackal. So let's turn that jackal to the side. All right. If you're drawing any critter in 3/4 view, the same basic idea is going to apply, that I can start with that little ball of the head, and then I am going to think of kind of this line that was down the middle is now kind of coming out here. And what I like to think of is taking a little narrow box and sticking that box. See how I'm making a little 3D box. And I'm sticking it onto the front of that circle. So that means that if I drew the center line up this now, it would come to here, and then we're going to kind of come up our head here. And because the hard part about drawing this is going to be the sort of how you wrap around this front of the nose. You don't want it to look like a side view. And so I like drawing this little circle. Now I want my eyes to be in the right places. So across the top here, I'm going to put an eye line here. Here's a line for my nose. Here's a line for the tops of my ears. See how all those are parallel with each other? Now, I can start to kind of draw more detailed over that. Now we're going to have a little kind of corner of my mouth. The mouth kind of comes back far. The nose is going to wrap around the front of this shape and then out around the side here. I'm going to put one eye in here. And I'm going to have sort of space between my eyes. Remember, I still need my 2 eyes roughly. But check this out. I'm going to have one eye over here. And same thing, it's going to have a high corner and a low corner. And on the low corner, there's a little area of bare skin, kind of glandular. This eye on the far side is the tricky one because it is slightly, this one is more looking at us. So if I draw a round eye over here, it's not going to look right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little ellipse over here. Right? And then I want that eye to fit into the head. So I give my little jackal friend that skin under its eye, and over on this side, I give it that skin under its eye. And then I give it that cool little pad above its eye, and over here, I'm going to give it that cool pad above its eye. And that helps attach my eye into my head. Now my ears are going to be, I want them to be the right distance apart. I have the same thing going on here. I'm going to look at what is the shape between the front edges of those ears. Right. What is the shape on the back edge of those ears? Right, it's going to come down in here, and then this one is going to come up narrowly. And on this one, I'm going to come down. Where does this line, if here's the eyes, how far down does this come? All right, I'm going to stop it roughly in here. I've got fuzz around this side of the head. I've got some fuzz here in front of the ear. And lastly, I want, actually, look at this. I do this ear tip down here and this one up here. Look at how, if I'm not paying attention, it's easy for me to get so focused on this ear and this ear. If I'm not intentionally thinking about them together, I will make one ear high and one ear low. But look, if I kind of remember to make things parallel, and I was like, no, you got to take this ear here. You got to take this ear here, and you're going to bring it up here. Bring that all the way up there. See how that little parallel guide helped me do that? So I want that ear to come up, that ear to come down, and my front edge of my ear is going to stop in there. So those are a few jackal heady thoughts. But now let's start to look at the body. And this is where our skeleton comes in. Oh. All right, so if you've got one of the little skeleton diagrams, I made it intentionally really ghosty pale. So your camera is not working wrong. This is intended to be pale. Let's look at this body. Wow, look at the proportions of this thing. And when you're looking at something's proportions, at first it just looks like it's sort of like dog shaped, okay. But compare it to a dog that you know, right? Coyote, jackal, coyote, jackal, coyote, jackal, coyote, jackal, right? What's the difference? What's the difference? Look at how skinny, look at how skinny that body is. Little slender body. Here, we're a little bit more chunky. Look at how skinny my little head is. A little bit more chunky. Look at how crazy long my legs are. Legs for days. These are long legs, but nothing like this. So if I want my jackal to look jackally, I need to really get my business on with that slender body. All right. So I have a body that is slender body in here. And on my legs, I want my legs to be long. So I have muscle here on my foreleg and my hind legs that are bigger. So they attach up here, and then they are going to come to just above the knee. So on the leg, it is the big section. Then you have the medium length width section, and then you have the skinny section, and you're walking on your toes. In the front, you have your big section, and then look at how long this section is. If you've been drawing a lot of deer and ungulates, which of course you have, right? Yay. You will want to make this joint in the middle. Notice that this is not in the middle of this space. If this were a deer, that joint would be back here, right? And you'd also then put the front leg joint at about the same height. But no, in these guys, you go all the way down here for the wrist, and then your little doggy foot is hanging out on the bottom of that. So notice that this joint and this joint are lower than we expect if we've looked at a lot of deer or gazelle or ungulates. Right. And so we used to those sort of being up here. They're at different heights on the doggy here. And this front one is just this incredibly long post. So it still has the same general pattern that we've seen in animal after animal. The back leg is a bent spring. The front leg is a column. And you're going to see that again and again. All right, we have a little neck that comes into this, and our head is surprisingly large for our proportions. If you're used to sort of drawing a coyote, we're going to give this one big ol' ears. And then our tail is going to often you have a little kind of swing out on that tail. Nice little fluffy tail. And we've got more jackally proportions. If you don't want it to look like a chihuahua, don't put a hard line around your jackal. Instead, so here's the cure for Chihuahua is I'm going to, especially like right in here, there's a few longer hairs, and I'm just going to suggest that those are a little bit longer, and then I can kind of come along here. Just a few little marks like that suggests that you're looking at fur. I might put a little bit of a hint of some kind of broken fur up here over the back, and then, you know, right, especially where you kind of make a change in your angle. On here on the tail, I'm going to make some of these little flick marks that come in longer. And that suggests longer hair in there. So you tend to get longer hair slightly. It's the same for all the dogs in here and also along the back edge of this leg. And so I can get just a little bit of fur in here. Oh, the front leg edge doesn't really have that. Along the neck, it's often smoother there. You'll sometimes see just a little hint of some, you know, more that it's more, just a little bit more shaggy down here. Coming here on the leg, just a hint that we're shaggy. And then we have short hair. So how I make these marks suggests depth of fur. Coyote, compare those kind of coyote proportions, right? You want to be a jackal. You don't want to be a coyote. Jackal, look at these proportions and compare them to a fox. How is the fox different? Can you see those differences in the proportions? And something that's really helpful in this is to look at the shape of the air between the legs. Look at the shape of the air between the legs. See that shape? Whoa, see how higher that is? Lower, higher, lower, higher, lower, higher. Do, 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 do. Thick legs, skinny legs, thick legs, skinny legs. Low, thick body. High, skinny body. Right? Those are the proportions that are going to make your jackal look jackally. All right, so here is one in motion. So let's use this one to kind of just notice the patterns on the fur. You've got dark along the base of the tail, and on the top of the tail there, you have this cool stripe on the side of the body. The back of the neck going over the shoulders, there's sort of this saddle and then this cape on the back. Ridiculously large ear. You're not going to want to draw ears that big. But so what you have to do is you have to say to yourself, oh, I'm actually drawing a jackal here, and I'm going to try to make it just like my features really show, you know, what I want. I'm going to just try a little kind of just quick gesture sketch here, how I might kind of play with this. You can have a little back coming along there, and you're going to have a little skinny body. You're going to have a little skinny head, and you're going to have a little head with huge ears sticking off the front. And I'm going to give myself as a landmark this front leg, and then I'm going to make sure I have enough space here for this back one. So I'm putting a big space here underneath these. I'm going to have another leg that is coming down in here. And look at how on this leg that is lifted, think of this point here as its elbow. So from the elbow, it's just, and the wrist, this is its wrist, elbow to wrist. So it's lifting its forearm up there, and you see the hand is just flopped down as just sort of the same way yours would if you lift your little paw up and just kind of loosely hold your foot. So the front leg is a column, but it can bend as it's unweighted and coming forward, but it will straighten out before it hits the ground. So, got just crazy long legs. Let's also, while we're here, just notice the length of that neck. Let's look at that neck. Get a feeling for the length of that neck, because that will be contrasted harshly with something in just a moment. Length of that neck. Okay. Just a few other, one last jackal here. If I'm making a quick sketch of this, right, I have body coming down. I like to think of the front quarters as a little ball. I like to think of that long belly as, here's my second part of my body, and then I have my hips as another little ball in the back. And then I have my legs that are coming down for days. Legs down for days. These back legs seem less bendy to us because we're looking at them from a front angle, but we still see a little bit of the back, bendy. And notice that they go from thicker to thinner to, at the bottom, thinnest. But legs for days. Now, let's contrast this shape with this guy. Now, here are some airbrushed, lovable looking hyenas. Let's notice how these are different from what we've been looking at with those jackals. How many differences can you pick out? Look at the spacing of the eyes. Look at the size of the nose pad. Look at the shape of the ears. Look at the distance between the ears. And also notice this little crest going on right here. The hyena has this big sagittal crest that goes down, massive masseter muscles, giving it this little kind of peaky thing going on very often in the middle of the head. The stronger the individual's bite, the bigger that little bone is in there. So let's just block in a face like this. Now notice that this one has a, the nose is higher because the head is tilted up. It's not doing this, it's doing more this. It's not full on like that, it's kind of doing that like that. But that jackal was doing this. So we have a higher nose. And I'm just going to start with a circle. I'm going to start the same way. And then in that, I'm going to put my first eye line up here, give myself a nose. My ears are coming in on my eye line. Notice the one on the with the kind of that's snuggling with its friend here. That ear seems to have come in lower than the eye because its head is tilted up a little bit more. All right. Now, how many eyes are there in this? So we've got small eyes. 1, 2. I'm going to put maybe 2.5 to 3 eyes between those. So the eyes are really wide set on these, and then they're smaller. And I'm going to kind of give these slightly kind of drooping look. Here's my My nose comes down, big, broad pad, big, broad nose in here. So you'll have nostrils on either side, and all nostrils connect to a little kind of slit, kind of goes out the bottom and up. Different species have different shaped noses, so it's always a good idea to look at what is the shape of the nose on the species that you're doing. Remember, we have these little fox cheeks here. This is a much more powerful, broad muzzle. Makes this one look very kind of serious and stern. Let's attach these eyes into the head with that tissue above and below. And what about our ears? Okay, I'm going to give myself some forehead here, a little bit of that, that peak in the center. We've got kind of broad set ears, and they're going to come all the way down to here. So I'm going to have an ear roughly in this zone here. And let's look at the negative shape between those ears. And then you're going to swing down. Something that's fun about hyenas, you can often temporarily spot individuals by the shapes and the tears and the rips in their ears, but that tends to change really quickly because somebody else is going to chew on their ears and make it even worse. These ones are in pretty good condition. And then I'm going to just generally darken this business in here. And we get a really different kind of an expression, a different kind of a face. So at this point, Avea is going, "Aw," right? Trying to see if you can get yourself just to love you some hyena. So all the hairs are kind of coming in here towards this little center line. Maybe might make that a little bit harder. Little dark marks here in front of the eye. Sort of this sad, sort of soulful expression. What a cool animal. But now, let's look at what's going on with this body. What do you notice? You've had a chance to look at, to really think about, how is this different? How is this different than what we're looking at with the jackal? What do you notice? Go from head to toe. So we've got a much more blocky head, smaller ears. Look at the size of that neck. Look at the neck on that critter, right? That's a lot of neck. And then we have these posts of the front legs that are like legs for days, but compare the front and the back legs. Whoa, right? And that gives you this slopey back look. So we've got this slopey back look, kind of a hump up here, long front legs, short back legs, little tail sticking out. So this one here has been sitting in the mud puddle, and you can really you can see these same features, right? Here there's a little bit of a mane going over the back. It's combed forward. You have this slopey back, short tail, big blocky head, and kind of a little bit of this giraffe look with that long neck. Notice that the elbow is down here below the level of the belly. Same with the knee and elbow. Let me just kind of back up here. This is its elbow here. That's its elbow. Oh, no, I want to go this way. All right. So on my little friend here, what do I have? Well, I have going from the back of the head here to the spine. There's a big ligament in here. My neck is really pretty thick and muscular. There's a big muscle that goes from up in here, kind of tucks along like this and attaches in the front of the body here. And that gives you this little groove right down here. You can see that in kind of the lower part of the neck, this little groove here, but really nice, long, thick neck. We have this slopey hip and back. We do have the same sort of thing going on here where we have bigger, we have medium-sized, and then we're down into our foot. Short little tail that they'll sometimes hold up when they're displaying. Now, your body is going to generally come down above where the elbow is. So this elbow sticks down. On a deer or a gazelle, if I were drawing that again, if this was, say, the little block of its body, you would have something like this. Where the knee is right up at body level. That's the back leg. And on the front, the elbow is right up at body level. And then you're seeing these joints right here in the middle. And this is roughly the same length as this. And they're at roughly the same height. And notice that you're not seeing the elbow here, but we might see in the dogs, we might see, and the little hyena friend here, we might see our elbow sticking down. Look at that little tail, being expressive. Long neck. So just make a quick gesture sketch of this. Let's make a quick gesture sketch of this thing. Wow, look at that. Look at how much neck that thing has, right? That's crazy. That's a lot of neck going on. Sort of like you're drawing a cat and then you cross it with a giraffe. I like that little tail. So bigger spots on the body, smaller spots on the legs. Coarser, stiff hair along the back of the neck and going down the back. And on some individuals, it's just a little crest along the top. And on others, it makes more of a cape that comes down a little bit further, but you'll see some individuals with just a little crest. Right. So one more little hyena sketch. Try to, in your gesture sketch, try to get sort of a sense for hyenosity. So sort of long neck. Has this one recently eaten? Is this one pregnant? More widely spaced ears. But just a very, very powerful muscular body. Really powerful body. If you're drawing hyenas and they start to look a little bit too much like a lion, pay attention to the length of your neck, that slope of the back. And another thing on, let's say here is just a kind of quick, well, we're about to kind of next class get into lions, but what you're going to find is that if I have, let's say here's a little ambiguous head, and it's, maybe it's lion, maybe it's hyena. If I put a big chin on it, it all of a sudden becomes much more liony. So don't over chin your hyenas, and they will stay more liony. So that is a few thoughts on playing with jackals and hyenas, and I hope that something that was useful in this is just this whole idea of this joint comparison, and to think of this as something that you can do on all sorts of other subjects. As you're comparing, as you're kind of studying any one thing, find something that is kind of ish similar to it, and put them adjacent to each other. And then the features of what is kind of making a hyena, like if we had just done the hyena today without the jackal, these kind of characteristics that make something hyena-esque would not be at all as clear. And so you can use that strategy when you're out in the field just geeking out on things. Don't get tunnel vision on this. Sometimes you expand your vision a little bit you compare it with something else, and you'll notice things in a really different way. So I hope that this workshop was useful, and I hope this workshop was fun. So thank you for being with us for a little bit of jackal and hyena love. And I hope that you will join the Hyena Appreciation Society with Aveo More. Does anybody want to, any comments, thoughts, or ideas for specifically about hyenas and jackals? Or then we can open up to more general share. So let's join Holly. Holly, you can unmute, and if you turn on your screen, you can if you want to, or you can keep the screen off. Up to you.
Hold on. Hi. Actually, I just wanted to share something I drew last night, and I found it really tough to do the hyena, like to get that body and the head to go together, because it's almost like it felt like there was a face attached to a body, because it's just so unlike anything I've ever drawn.
Yes. No,
You know?
I'm noticing that you've got that the leg proportions spot on here, and you've
Mhm.
got a nice long neck on this. So all those are really, really good hyena details. But you're
Mhm.
right. When the body is side view to us, and then it's turning back and looking at us.
Mhm.
Um, so that gets really confusing,
Mhm.
because sometimes as it's turning that neck towards you, the length of the neck that you see exposed is shortened because part of that neck is then turned towards you as well. And so I would say check the length of the neck that is visible, especially I find it helpful to look on the underside and see if that sort of section of neck length is working for you.
Mhm.
Um,
You know,
but you've got the broad muzzle, you've got the widely spaced eyes, the ears widely apart from each other, the crest on the top of the head, and that very distinctive teardrop shape in those the of the um, of those ears. So there's some really great hyena features going on right here.
and then, well, then the other thing I found, I was at somebody's place and they had this children's book, right? And this is
Ooh,
about a hyena, and it's the cutest book ever, cutest book ever. And the person who wrote it has a little description of the three different kinds of hyenas. Plus, I think it's called the wolf art.
the aardwolf
The
wolf.
art wolf, yeah, art wolf.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it backwards. So anyway, I thought I'm gonna try and draw this. So then I tried to draw it. It turned into a bunny.
Oh, fun.
So this
Yeah,
is
so
what
some of the
plays
other
with me.
hyenas are cuter than the spotted hyena. We've been playing with the spotted hyena today.
Yeah, this is a striped. Yeah, this is a striped hyena. But I
Yeah, I
just
mean,
found like it just kept turning into a bunny, and I kept getting the ears wrong. It was like but it was so fun that I just kept going. I didn't stop until
oh, that is really
3 in the morning.
fun. That is really fun. And yeah, Van and I will have to check this out. We love Stella Luna.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the writer, and it's just adorable. It has wonderful zebra and serval, and there's a stork. They're all the
Give us a
all.
quick page flip in this.
Oh
Give us
yeah,
a quick page
sure,
flip.
sure. Like, and it's well, there's the sweet mom.
Aw.
Yeah, no, it's really really a nice book. Let me see here. Here's here's all
The moms will often make sure that the youngsters eat before the males.
there's dingoes,
Wild dogs.
and they're picking on each other, and they're making fun of each other's characteristics, and that leads this poor little Pinduli to feel very badly about himself.
Oh,
And what
oh.
happens is he goes and rolls himself in dust and makes himself look like a ghost, and he scares all the other animals into leaving some food behind, for him and his mom, because to placate the ghosts. Let me see if there's another good. There's a really great look at this. Is a really great zebra thing, I think. Look at that.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
see.
So
That's
his
science. Science illustration meets art meets how to, also draw for children and keep all the adults really, really happy. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I think it's so important that children's illustrators be really educated in what they're drawing, because this is how our children learn the essence of these creatures, right? So
Hmm.
I always look for books like that. But anyway, thanks for letting me share.
Oh, thank you for sharing
Okay.
that. That's really, really fun. That's really
Okay.
fun. Oh, so just one quick clarification. Maybe while I was talking fast, I might have said masseter muscle coming up to the top. It's going to be I think the temporalis muscle. Your masseters, if you put your jaws together here and you clench your jaws,
That's your masseters.
So it's going up from your jaw and then connecting onto your cheekbone. But your temporalis muscle comes up into your temples. So if you put your hands up here on your head, right, and then clenched your jaw, you feel that little flex in there? Right, that is your temporalis muscle. And what you can actually do is you can put your hand up a little bit higher and clench your jaw, and you don't feel it. You don't feel it because on us, our temporalis muscles end down here. We don't have very strong bite force. If our temporalis muscles came up higher, we would have a stronger bite. And so, hold on a second. So if we look here on this cast of a skull, you can see that there's a little ridge here. And that's where our temporalis muscle, so it's going from down here up under here, and then it's attaching on up here. So it's going across this joint so that when this contracts, the jaw comes up. And then so that's your bite force one. And and it looks like some of our ancestors may have had stronger bite force than we did. Oh yeah. And we're not ancestors, our I'd say more cousins that very often. So when you kind of look at an ancient skull, you don't know if you're on the exactly same line that leads to you. But there we go. Hi. And so yeah, I think you've got your temporalis up there in your temples. So I'm going to bounce over to the gallery view. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, ideas? Either about hyenas, jackals, or were there any kind of take-home points about drawing and sketching that you want to, that we hit today, that you really want to remember? If so, just articulating those now is helpful. So Michael Helms talking about the eye spacing and kind of using that. Once you see it, it's really, really obvious. But there's a tendency for us to put everything, like if you've got a pet cat, you'll do most things with sort of pet cat eye spacing. Avea's making a comment about the gesture sketching and just kind of a bunch of kind of quick sketches of things. I think is much more helpful than doing like one big careful drawing of a hyena. A bunch of quick sketches of them from a bunch of different angles is going to just sort of help your brain wrap around that form in a much better way. Right. Did anybody want to share anything from their journals or notebooks or other philosophy or thoughts, comments, and ideas that is relative that you're thinking about? Let's go to Arpan. Hey there. You can now unmute. Hello there.
Hi, Jack. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Sorry, your Ubuntu is sick today, so he couldn't be in the club.
Oh, please let him know that we're sorry that he's feeling sick. We hope he feels better soon, and we so appreciate having him as part of our community.
Of course. I did some giraffes from last week.
Oh.
Sorry, I have to turn off.
Oh, Fun. And you did the 3/4 view, which is so challenging. I love that sort of running posture in the giraffe. That's really, really fun. You're good proportions on these. Very, very good proportions. The length of the legs relative to the neck.
And a few more. So,
Oh, neat. Yeah, the drinking posture of a giraffe is such a strange thing, isn't it? Those legs getting way out, and then you get your head down low. And there's that also gives sort of biomechanically a whole bunch of challenges, because when your head is low, the when your head gets low, the you have to have these have to have incredibly high blood pressure to get blood up to the head, but then you put your head down low, you know, and then all that high pressure blood comes charging into your skull. Now, with gravity working for it, then you have, why aren't you having an aneurysm every time you bend down to drink? And they have these special networks of blood catching blood vessels up in their brain that are going to sort of pad and make the flow of blood more diffuse. So they've got a bunch of different methods to to not blow out their brains, and still when their head is down, and to get the blood up there when their head is up. It's pretty cool.
fantastic.
Well, and there also are one-way valves in the veins, like we'd have in the neck, a bunch of strong one-way valves, so blood doesn't race back down to the head. They're cool.
A few things I haven't completed. Oh, I'll do them. A few things from today's class. This is the jackal.
Oh, yes. Oh, very good. Very, very strong work.
And this is the hyena.
Oh, let's see. Maybe move it back and forth a little bit, see if we can get a slightly better focus. Oh yeah, I'm catching those body shapes now. Yep, that long neck, stouter legs, little slopey back, and then again those cool ears. I like hyena ears.
Mm,
That's really fun.
thank you. Jack, I had a question.
Yes.
When you draw, do you keep your book straight? I tend to tilt it and my drawings all become kind of tilted, but it's kind of difficult to draw when the book is straight. So
I keep moving my book all around. And my reason for doing that is that it's easy for me to draw in this direction with my hand, and kind of coming back this way feels sort of awkward. So if you find that there's an angle, there's a direction that your hand can make the sort of nice, smooth, even marks most easily. And when I go the opposite direction, I'm kind of working against myself and kind of coming in like, oh no, that's like, and so to avoid that, I rotate my book. And so then I can continue to make those lines that sort of feel easier for me. And the when I so yeah, I'm constantly turning mine around. But if I have a preliminary drawing that has the basic shape already blocked in, perhaps with a non-photo blue pencil or the purple pencil that I'm now demonstrating with, then my critters don't get distorted when I'm going at a different angle, because I already have that basic framework down there.
okay, I'll try to incorporate that.
Great.
Thank you.
Very good to see you. Please again send our love to Raybanto.
Sure, I will. Thank you, Jack.
Absolutely. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's see what's up with Avea, Jan, and Kate. Avea, hey there.
Hey there. Thank you so much for the hyenas. They make me very happy.
Just kind of makes you laugh, right?
Makes me laugh a lot. So yeah, I'd been trying to learn more about them just in advance, because then that way it locks in better when you're teaching me, because then I can remember things. And so I'd made a joint comparison between them for funsies earlier, so that way I could see some of the things that they might have in common and that they might have a bit differently. So that was kind of fun. And then I was late at night sketching some hyena, and I need to,
Oh.
it's pretty rough, so I know I need to, like, after today's class, I realized I really need to modify the legs and the feet. But I was having fun just looking at the face and thinking how cute they are. And then I decided to make a stick figure cartoon.
Oh, and you have to read it to me.
Okay, so the kid says, "Mama, what kind of dog is that? Is it a Dalmatian?" And the mom says, "That's not a dog, that's a spotted hyena."
Uh-oh. Yeah, it might be time to get in the car.
Yeah, just like, yeah, plus they're califorms, so they're not even caniforms, whatever. And so then aside from that, I've been trying to just, I don't know, trying to draw more sketches of like the giraffes.
Yeah, oh, nice blocking in of basic fundamental shapes here.
Thank you. I found the keystones that you were teaching to be really helpful, because now I see them, the shapes everywhere in the animals. I just want to try doing it from different perspectives a bit more, because I still have trouble making the back one turn in space. So I need to work on
Isn't
that.
that weird? Yeah, so the little the plastic horse is so helpful in seeing that, where you have one will have the bend,
Yep.
and then the other one doesn't.
Yep. So I need to practice, drawing from that angle, or at least drawing the blocks from that angle. And then with the legs, I'm finding it helpful, seeing how you do it, to think about field sketching this way too, that instead of having to block in the legs perfectly, I can start by just doing where the joints are, and then I can block in the details later on if I need to. So that's something I'm going to try to use more in field sketching. Aside from that, let's see here. Yeah. Giraffes are not heartless creatures, as we like to say. That was looking at your sketch, because I don't have a printer at home. So what I do is I try to draw out the skeletons in advance, and then some stuff about ruminant stomachs for you, Kate. So I've got, this is how ruminant stomach works with our foregut fermenters. And I wanted to see all of the different parts of the foregut. So the foregut is in green here. And we've got all the different stomachs. And so I was wondering, how does the regurgitation work? Does that mean that they have to go all the way back through the system? But I find it interesting that the reticulum is just kind of right here, right next to the first stomach.
And how does your stomach not just cough back up the same thing that you've already chewed? How does it kind of get a different wad of stuff that needs to be gnawed up to the part that you're going to cough back into your mouth? That's pretty cool.
I'm wondering the same thing. Like, how does it know to put it back into the reticulum and not just put it back in the rumen? I have no idea. And so then that, in comparison to some other stomachs, the pig, the camel, these two are pseudo-ruminants, so they have really weird stomachs and do really weird things. Like our friend here, the hippo, there's no cecum. There's no cecum. Why is there no cecum? And because like this one has one.
They say cecum and you shall find, but that's not always true.
This is true. I mean, not, yeah. So yeah, just trying to do different comparisons. And then that's compared to a Persodactylas, and they have really, really huge cecums. And this is with our hindgut fermenters have these. And so this is important. And but where the fermentation takes place is different depending on whether you're talking about big mammals or little ones like rodents.
Oh, tell us more about that.
So with the big ones, let's see here. What I learned was that the cecum breaks down the cellulose, and the colon here is where the fermentation happens. Except that then in like rodents and rabbits and whatnot, then I think it's that more fermentation takes place in the other, but I'm not sure. And I want to double check, because I think that I might be forgetting some details. So
and then with rabbits, you also have their digestive system is like the worst of all. So when a rabbit gets out, risks getting out there into the middle of the meadow and nibbles a little plant and then bounces back under its shelter and kind of goes, oh, that was scary, but now I've got some food. Chews it and swallows it. Shortly thereafter, the rabbit poops it out
Mhm.
and then moves down. And it realizes that this is just exactly what I just ate out there, and I have not processed most of this. So then they re-ingest it, and the bunny has to then send it through the digestive tract a second time
Wow.
because their digestive tract is so crazy inefficient.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And I thought pandas had it bad, but that's horrible. I feel
Yeah,
kind
see,
of
that's worse than panda.
it's a lot worse than panda.
Yeah,
Wow.
but the consequence is that they've got a little bit more pep in their step than a panda.
This is true. They have to, because they're so active. Like
Yeah.
they don't deal with lethargy the way the pandas do, because the pandas aren't getting enough nutrients. They're like, no time to socialize today. But the bunnies are like,
And have you ever got a chance at when they have kind of open house days at UC Davis, which is the agricultural university here in California? They have this. They have a cow that they use for sort of teaching purposes, and there's a little removable window on the side of its body, and you can reach your arm into the rumen. And it's this little kind of so this little, and then they put the little plug back into it, and then it kind of goes about being a cow, and then you can take that out and kind of reach around and sort of feel around inside the rumen. So that's pretty crazy. It's the rumen with a view.
You had me there.
No, but this actually is true. They actually do have this cow that you can stick your arm into the rumen. For reals.
This I've got to see.
This we got to see. We might have to have it when now we're starting to kind of get field trips going again. Maybe we go to Davis and we get to meet their cow. That could be fun.
I would like that very much.
There's also growing owls out there.
Oh, we've got to check those out.
Those are cute.
Cute owls. And I'll try to be fast. You said to do, well, this is marsh practice. You said to do ungulates, so I was trying to do ungulates, drawing these ones, and then more ungulates. So drawing, what did I try to draw here? We are the knights who say new.
Oh.
Wildebeest, and then versus the Cape buffalo or African buffalo, just because I thought it'd be fun to compare the two of them and look at how their horns look really different. And then some more drawings. I tried to draw this one picture that I saw of a buffalo jumping, but then it didn't really work out because I made the horizon line kiss the the hooves too much, and so I realized that caused visual confusion. And so if I had to do it over again, I'd probably do it differently. Plus, I have trouble with trying to do a mix of water with weird colors plus a shadow. It's kind of like, what did I just do to myself? So this is fine because this is like really, really good learning. We learned that we do not play pin the tail on the wildebeest. That'd be a bad idea. Yeah, no, we don't do that. You get kicked.
You'd get kicked. They would not like that.
And then let's see here. Was there anything else? I mean, hummingbirds with Marley.
Now that was a lot of new drawings that you did.
Thank you. And then, oh yeah, sorry. Last thing, because I don't want to take up too much time. Like I said, I didn't get to go out and do like a full-on birthday cleanup, but I did get to do a little bit of one on my birthday. And I had one friend who insisted upon coming along, and since he didn't live in a place where like he lived too far away and there would have been dangers, then I was like, okay, you can join me. And afterwards we hung out with Gargi as well. So I went out to my site and we picked up trash in this area. And unfortunately, there are a lot of these fake petals all over the place. So we went crazy on those, decided to pick up some hemlock, and I did, and then drew some crazy funguses or whatever that we saw, and lizard.
Oh, that's fun.
So that was fun. And then last but not least, working on Starling. It's got
iridescence. Oh, hey, that is it is so challenging to mess with iridescence like that. but this doesn't, this has not just the iridescence, but it really has the structure. I can understand the structure of this wing
Oh, cool.
so clearly. You have been putting in a ton of pencil miles, Avea.
Thank you.
That is really, really exciting. Could we see that again? I want to minimize my screen. Remove spotlight. Wow.
There were some details I sort of missed up in here, but I'm going to let that go and just be happy with.
Well, the nice thing about a starling is you can just you put dark over it, nobody sees it, and they're this play of this kind of gets. I like there's blues, there's purples, there's greens, there's all these different iridescent colors coming off this thing, and just enough structure to help me really understand the anatomy. This is working great for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done. So we missed your birthday and didn't sing happy birthday to you on your birthday. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is go over to your gallery view, and anybody who feels comfortable turning on your screen, please do so. I'm about to, hold on a second. I am about to, where can I allow people to hold on. Here I go. I've just allowed everybody in the call to unmute themselves. So I'm going to encourage everybody to please do so now, and we're all going to, except for the Zoom bomber, that person has to stay quiet. But the rest of us, now, whenever we sing happy birthday on Zoom, everybody's singing off at a little bit of a different time, and it just sounds like a crazy cacophony. But don't let that stop you, because we're just going to go there anyway. And so, Avea, we love you, we respect you, we are honored to be in this community with you. We celebrate your birthday and your life. And everybody, 1, 2, 3, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Yay! Everybody give her a heart. She always gives us hearts. We can give a heart back. There we go.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you all so much for singing to me.
Absolutely. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, happy birthday to you. We are just so lucky to be in this with you. Now, I want to encourage people to remute yourself. We're about to jump over to Jan and then to Kate. And anybody else who's got a comment, thought, or idea, or a birthday wish for Avea, we'll invite you to do so now. We're going to start with Jan.
Hi there. Happy day, everyone. We've had so much rain, as all those in the Bay Area know. And so I thought I'd start by showing something I did in November when a certain area was a bit more at its norm. This is Arana Creek. And it was this amazing day when I was bicycling by and there was screaming. The screaming was coming from both a great blue heron and a red-tailed hawk. And the unfortunate in all of this was the rodent, not the birds. The hawk was trying to steal the gopher from the heron, and the heron, as you will see here, eventually was able to be successful in swallowing it. But it was quite a show. Arana Gulch comes north out of the Santa Cruz Harbor and has a lot of tidal flux that influences it. So this was a really cool National Geo moment.
Wow, that is so much fun. And the a great blue heron is a really tough,
Oh, yeah.
powerful bird.
Yeah, it
You,
was, it was, the hawk was coming in and the heron, yeah, it was great. Um, but then I also have that same area, um, whole different bird. Um, let's see, is this where you can see
yes,
it?
yes, yes, we can see very well.
Um, so this is from, I think, was this January 5th, I think? And there was a belted kingfisher that was hunting in that area. But as you can see, the water was really different. And at this point, it was low. On the screen, you can see where the culverts connect this underneath the parking lot.
Yeah.
And you get a huge, at low tide, and as the tide fluxes, you'll have a lot of flow going on there, and reverberation within what are basically little tunnels. So it's a really interesting place to see lots of different things happening. And with the grasslands near it and the eucalyptus near it and with oak trees near it and with all that, oftentimes there are lots of different small passerines. And this day there was a kingfisher that was hunting. And so it's pretty cool.
That's so much fun. I love the little circle inset strategy that you're using, that with the map technique. And tell me what your thinking is with the different colors of ink as you're writing and taking notes.
Well, just that the orange or the pink, the words are supposed to correspond to those spots. So,
See, folks, like, everybody see what's going on with there? So using color coding in the map and then in the text that goes along with it. I've never seen that done, and I really like that idea.
okay. Good. And then last one is from this last Saturday. And so this is the San Lorenzo River. Let's see, let's get out.
Oh, look at the cross section too.
Pardon?
And the cross section.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I have that exactly right.
But it doesn't have to be exact. This is.
Yeah, it gives the idea of the main channel of the river, the area known as the benchlands or bottomlands, where, fascinatingly enough, there had been a very large encampment of people living in tents up until I'd say maybe 2 months before this. They would have died if they hadn't, their spots up at De La Vega Park for them to live. So it was really a wonderful thing that encampment was cleared out, and there are other options. But the birds were in the area that was the shallowest and has the least flow. I think it maybe should be a little shallower on my diagram, but and the great blue heron here was a mess. It looked like it was just sopping wet, which of course I'm sure it wasn't, but it had probably been hunting and probably been getting its whole body down in the water to get something. And it was just a wild child looking bird. So
that's really interesting, because normally they just look so clean and pressed.
Yeah, it was not looking like a normal heron. Anyway, so those were trying to document a little bit of what was happening down there by the river.
So that's really fun. That's really fun. And how cool to see the same place in these different pre-flood and the drama going on there. And then those different stages. And also I respect all the different ways all the different strategies you have just in those 3 pages that you showed of recording information with different techniques. You're using mapping, you're using insets, you're using color coding, you're using sort of the scene view, you're using cross sections, you're using like all these sort of stories, just wonderful visual thinking strategies that you've developed.
I love mapping. I try to do that anytime I can. Yeah.
That's fun. That's really fun.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Jen, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Let's bring on Kate Chandler and then Shannon. Hey there, Kate.
Hello, how are you?
Doing very well.
Good. Well, I really enjoyed your class. I thought I'd show you guys some of the stuff I'm working on. I don't have some of it with me because I am house sitting. Should have brought Timber on with me today, but didn't get that set up in time. So I thought I'd show
That's
you.
a cool painting that's on the wall to your right.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, the guy who I'm house sitting for has some very interesting taste in art. It's all over the place. But it's definitely fun. Yeah, so I thought I'd show you what's been my sketchbook lately. It's been a little hectic because I've been doing my salamander project, so there's been a lot of paintings. But my sketchbook mostly is like where I do the outlines for them. So what we're working on is my friend Parker thought it'd be really cool to do native plants and ecosystems instead of just doing it like as regular scientific illustration where it's just something on a white background. We decided to do a lot of animals that are shown in their habitat. So
I remember that one we had the eggs under the little piece of wood in the background.
yeah. Did that one, and then like with this one, did the Spanish moss, and there's two morphs of this type. This isn't exactly what they look like, but one is completely black, the other one has all these white patches on it. So we're trying to get the two morphs in there. I'm trying to do it like kind of an Audubon style where I feel like one of the things that Audubon did really well was like pairing the ecosystem with the animal and like having the animal in some sort of action pose that like showed like its nature kind of. So trying to do that. Here's some quick little ink sketches I did at the Marine Life Center. Things have just been so busy, so it's been really hard to try and like consistently keep up my pencil miles, and yeah, so I'm trying to work that in. Here's some more of the salamanders. This is one I'm probably gonna repaint.
Oh, those costal grooves just really carry the form, don't they?
Yeah, and I'm trying to make it so those are as accurate as possible. But that is difficult, and I've been really working on just trying to make it so I can draw salamanders that just feel really natural, and I've gotten to a point where like now it's kind of starting to click of how they work.
That point where the body, when you've got something that turns and twists and you're going from looking at one side then it flips over to the other, making that really feel consistent. When it's at a 3/4 view,
Yeah.
the top, yeah, we can do it. But then you get these 3/4 views and it's a real brain buster, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it? I mean, that, and then figuring out how. So the biggest thing that Parker, the biologist who I'm working with, who's a excellent herpetologist and gets a lot of hands-on experience with these animals. So a lot of times the pictures I see on iNaturalist are of gravid salamanders that are like traveling to water to go lay their eggs. So I see all these pictures of very chunky salamanders.
Yeah.
And Parker's like, no, they need to be skinnier. So we've got this running dialogue where I'm like, you have unrealistic body standards for salamanders, Parker. And so it's like, obviously, I want to have that in the book of like, yeah, salamanders, they're, on their way to go lay eggs are going to be a bit chunky because they're carrying all those eggs. But I can't resist to just tease him, be like, I don't know,
Yeah,
Parker.
but I mean, we don't want to
shaming
also
the
body
salamanders.
shame the salamanders.
Yeah. So that's been really fun. Luckily, I'm kind of moving into the more naturally chunky species like the spotted salamander, the marbled salamander.
Oh, what fun. What fun.
Yeah. I got pages from today. I don't think I've got anything else. I've started bringing a little sketchbook to work with me since a lot of what I do is just waiting for the phone to ring, kind of like sitting there at the desk. So I've been trying to do salamander practice at work and just like on lunch break, get the paints out. So this one, I kind of went a little crazy with the blue undertone. I need to get the values in, but it's kind of a good exercise. Just trying to get in as much practice as I can to make them feel really natural. So yeah.
That's great. That's really fun to see those.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I thought was kind of cool was one of the classes I'm taking at Yale is about the history of like natural history and how illustration's involved with that. And it's been really fun to see kind of how nature journaling has actually been around for a really long time in a lot of different forms. Like in one form, this is just kind of fun facts, but people would try and have collections of plants and animals that they either found or like bought from faraway places, which dubiously ethical in some cases.
So
But
the cabinet of curiosities sort of thing?
yes, exactly. But also it was very common to have like a accompanying nature journal, or people would have collections of pressed or illustrated plants. And it was just like a really cool thing that a lot of people started to have in their homes as like scientific interest took off. And another thing that was really interesting was like illustrators, naturalists at the time would do these subscriptions. So instead of having like your subscription to Netflix, you'd have a subscription to, you know, your local naturalist. It's like we all subscribe to John Laws, and you know, once a month he sent us a packet of printed illustrations, and eventually
Patreon.
it was that's exactly what it was. And I was kind of thinking I should start that up again, where, you know, basically just do Patreon, but then do it in the style of 18th century illustrations, just send people prints. Because what people then did was they bound them together to make a book, which they like kept in their cabinet of curiosities with like all their favorite naturalists. So I think we need to start doing that again.
Like
Yeah.
And I do sort of try to maintain an ethical cabinet of curiosities.
Yes.
Here
And I think
around
that's
the house.
totally a thing.
There's a
definitely
struggle
do.
between my wife, who would like to kind of keep things sort of more simple, and for me, who like, what if we have more skulls just kind of out in the living room?
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of space, but I do have a friend who she likes to make all kinds of cool jewelry and stuff with various dead animal parts. So usually what I will do is I'll bring something home, I will draw it, and then I will take it to Megan, who we refer to as the bone witch or the copper witch. And in exchange for dead things, she will give you jewelry that's made of electroformed natural objects that are harvested very ethically. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Yeah. And then with that, you also have to be aware that if you are taking and scavenging parts of dead animals, the fish department of Fish and Game actually has scavenging permits that allow you to legally collect bones and things.
gotcha.
And the but if you are taking natural objects like that and then you're turning them into a craft and then selling that at a craft fair, you have to be really on top of what your state's laws and regulations are about.
She is.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, she used to work for Fish and Wildlife, so she's got all the stuff going on.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah. No, a lot of her stuff tends to be like she's lost up with Western cedar, like making but it's very ethically harvested. And
that's terrific.
Not a lot of animal products.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that if you find, say, a bird feather,
like the
if it's a pigeon, you can you can pick up a few species, but there's for most species in the United States, they're protected by the Migratory Bird Act.
Really?
And so here's a jay feather. It's actually illegal for me to everybody. I know like tons of people have feathers in their house, but it's actually illegal to kind of bring that home and take it. Not just if it was found in a national park, and if it is a bird of prey feather, then there are other laws on top of that are there protecting the birds of prey. And so generally the Fish and Game are aware that there are people out there who, they're not going to bust everybody who's picked up a feather. But if you are then going around and turning that into a craft for resale,
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're really, really on top of all of those laws. And it's also a good just idea just to kind of be aware of what your local laws are,
Mhm.
and um, and to try to, as much as we can, to abide by those. But on these sort of wildlife bits and pieces things,
Yeah.
it's like how would somebody from Fish and Game know the difference between something that was poached versus something that was found? And so
Yeah.
those are
Well, I mean,
that's
there
really
are ways
fun.
to do things like that. Like one of the things in this case, so for a lot of the plants, like she has a friend at the farmer's market who sells carnivorous plants, and like she'll get the clippings and stuff of those, and she'll grow some things that are, um, you know, hers. For animals, like she sells a lot of stuff that are canine teeth. Do these actually come from wild canines? No, they come from vet clinics because they do a lot of dog teeth extractions for
Oh,
dogs. So it's, yeah,
that's
just
cool.
very aware of the conservation. If you want to go check out her stuff, it's Linnea Jewelry. I believe she's on Instagram. So I would go take a look.
Could you put a link to that in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me see if I can find it. It may take me a moment. My internet's a little slow.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I know it's kind of um a difficult one just because like I think if I didn't know the person, I'd be really hesitant to buy that kind of stuff. I usually don't buy it now. Usually it's more of a barter system.
Oh, have I
One
found a
moment
treasure
here.
for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, like we'll go hiking. We've got a salmon stream below our house, and so as the salmon started to rot away,
Aren't the
I'm realizing it
skulls of
sounds pretty weird. Yes, so I have a necklace that's the jawbone of a salmon. That turned out really cool. Let's see, where's the there she is. Okay. Oh, come on. Aha.
yeah, osteology of
Right.
Osteichthyes is really lots of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the
Okay, there it
link.
is.
I hope that works. But yeah, she is a very cool science-minded individual, and I'd love to bring her on sometime. So I've tried to get her to join the Nature Journal Club. So eventually I'll get her on one of these meetings. So she's a very cool person. I think everyone here would really enjoy. She's kind of another mad botanist.
Oh, see, she could hang with us, it sounds
I
like.
think so, yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's see what's in Shannon Phoebe's journal. What's going on with you? What are you thinking about? We're going to add you into the spotlight, and you can now unmute.
Hi. So this is a little call out to Ivea in the way that she is so inspiring, and I found myself caught up in that inspiration. I spent Christmas in San Diego with my sisters, and I would go for long walks several times of the day, and I eventually found a little hillside there, untended, just right in the middle of suburbia. I even called it my little wild hill in the suburbs, and you probably can't make much out of this picture, but it's a hill, and it was kind of just ignored by everybody. There were apartment complexes all around, and they were all assigned to certain areas to keep clean and so on, but this area wasn't being kept clean. But I discovered when I was walking there these amazing mushrooms. So I didn't do a bunch of sketches of them, but I did get a lot of pictures. And during the time I was there, which ended up being way longer than I expected because of the Southwest flights. But so I got to watch it from about this stage all the way to its final kind of disintegration. almost disintegration. So we, between all three of myself and my two sisters, we have a record of this mushrooms process, and it was quite big. I'm not going to show my hand. Oh, okay, don't want to show my hand because I didn't paint it very well, but that's the general size. You can see a thumb and a couple fingers there. And again, some things never got finished. This is my sister Maeve, as she was there with me at the top of the hill, also sketching. So she's just sketched in, and it's not completed. But the end game of it was that since this was a neglected little hill, I ended up spending quite a bit of time towards the end of my visit with my big black bag, and I completely cleaned up that little hillside. It was covered with the little tiny pellets, I think, from air guns that kids in the neighborhood had gone and practiced their shooting. At first, they were all bright colors. They're tiny, and at first I thought somebody broke a bracelet in there. Finally, I realized there were no holes in these things, and then my slow brain connected the dots, and I thought, oh, it's like an air gun residue. And that took all three of us, watched out for those and picked them up as we saw them. They were everywhere. And then a couple of rainstorms came through, and then that exposed a bunch more. So the little hillside got completely cleaned. And then just before I left, we were walking in the neighborhood again, and we met a fellow who's also a hiker. And his preferred hiking is on one of the big trails that's up here. I don't know, the West Coast Trail that goes all the way from the bottom of the country up into Canada. And so he hiked with us the one day, and we showed him our little hill. And so he agreed to watch over it while I was gone and try to keep it nice and cleaned up. So thank you, Ivea, for your inspiration on always carrying a bag with you, and whatever you see, just take care of. But that little hillside provided so much opportunity to observe nature in the middle of suburbia. Every day that I went there, I would find something new. And if one of my sisters wasn't with me at the time, then I was sending, texts and saying, oh, today the surprise is blah, blah, blah. And then, on this day, wow, we're seeing this. And oh, look, here's the I think it's called the California tortoise butterfly, seem to love these particular wildflowers. So it was quite a better amusement than, watching TV or sitting around on your phone or whatever. So thank you, Abea.
Can I just say thank you? Thank you for the stewardship that you did of that hill. And I bet that you feel even more of a sense of belonging and connection to that hill because you looked after it and took care of it. And I wouldn't have necessarily made the connection either that they were from an air gun. And so it sounds like you thought one thing, but then you checked and you saw signs that it wasn't quite what you thought it was. And so then you changed your hypothesis until you figured out what it was. I think that's a good scientific process personally. But thank you so much, especially because when we pick up big pieces of trash, it's easy to feel like I got so much done, and we did. We really do when we pick up big ones, but the little ones, they're difficult and they're everywhere and they get stuck in places, and picking up the little pieces of trash is a whole other kind of dedication, and it makes a huge difference too. It makes a huge difference, especially for the littler critters. So thank you so much for what you and your sisters did for that hill.
And that's the blessing of the rains. I mean, there are many blessings to the rains in California, although it's overwhelming right now, but that it washed away the hillside enough that after every rain, I would make sure to go down there to see what had been revealed that wasn't there the day before. And I like that you mentioned the hypothesis aspect of the work that I did, because I've been thinking about that as part of this other study we've been doing. And so for me, it's really the observation. So let's say, actually, let's see if I wrote it down. Or if I bothered to dot it so that I would so that I could find it. Oh yeah. So it's the data first, or the observation. For me personally, it's observation always at the beginning. It's the phenomenon at the beginning. Eventually that leads to the hypothesis for me, and then would come more data collection and a test of that hypothesis. Now, I never did see any kids out there with their blowguns, but you know, I don't live there. So someone else will have to catch that. So anyway, that's the end of my story for today. Thank you.
Oh, that I agree with Avea. What a beautiful, beautiful story. This is really inspiring, and you doing that, and then you also then pass the torch of stewardship of that little plot on to somebody else. Just sort of think about how the action that you did stimulated somebody else to do something to make the world better. So what Avea did inspired you, inspired this other person, and when we can find those parts of ourselves that are and that are sort of the better angels of our nature, and water those seeds, it inspires others to also do the same. So the good things we do in this world, they have a direct impact, and then there is these ripple effects, and I think we really see that here. So thank you to you, thank you to Avea. And on that note, I think that this is the perfect kind of note to end our workshop today. What we've seen here is just a little lesson again in how to human. And thank you all. You know, we're practicing. We're doing the best we can. And what I want to do is to encourage people to find that best part of yourself today and to share it with the world. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jack.
Happy birthday, Avea.
Thank you.